Welcome to The Exclusive. I'm your host, Sharon Tharp. Today is our Sunday Big Brother 25 breakdown, where we'll talk about the episode a little bit. We'll talk about what's going on in the house, kind of give you a rundown of what's happening, talk about the live feed. So if you're spoiler averse, please, move along, and everything that's going on social media as well. So today I'm joined by my friend Sinan. Sin, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Sharon?
I'm good. What the heck did we just watch?
I don't know, so, background. So the episode was postponed because of golf. People watch that apparently. So we wait like an extra hour and a half because we're like, maybe something important is gonna happen in the episode that's like worth talking about. So we have to talk about the competition, which was amazing. My best competition ever. The Nether Gorgon. No? Yes?
Listen, I will say real quick, I support them trying something new because we see the same shit all the time, but I couldn't follow what the hell was happening.
I think they were posting, they thought they were posting the episode on Disney Plus instead of Paramount Plus, and they got confused. They're like, oh no, not this show, not this show. Like they thought they did something with the competition. I like the nature of the competition, but doing too much with their fake CGI cheap animations, just keep it simple.
It was very Stranger Things, but we'll get into it. Let's give a little bit of a rundown of the house, what, current house events, what's going on. So as we saw tonight, Hisam won the HOH. We kind of knew bits and pieces. I didn't know that they left the BB house and went to a different part of the CBS lot where they film other shows, which was, again, I appreciate them changing it up a little bit. That was cool. I just did not, I could not follow. The rules were essentially like musical chairs, I think, but it was just too much was happening. And yeah, it was just a weird episode. But nevertheless, Hisam won. He seemingly did not want to win, which was surprising to me. And then Jared came in second. He wanted to win for some reason, which I don't think would have been smart because he would have had to show his cards more than he already had to, with the whole Nether region of it all. But yeah, so Jared, because he came in second, ended up in the Nether region, which we will get to. So HOH is Hisam. Hisam proceeds to, which we'll, I'm sure, see throughout this week, proceeds to have conversations with everybody. And his targets, which he made clear, are Reilly and Cameron and a little bit of Matt as a backup. And he essentially ends up nominating Reilly and Cameron. Yes. And we will get into the whole Nether region of it all, but that was essentially what happened with the HOH. Should we talk about the Nether region real quick? Let's just get into that before we even talk about the
I'd love to talk about the Nether region.
Yes, you talk about it. Go ahead. So I'm confused.
CBS, I don't know what they're trying to do here, with this whole multiverse thing, but they really thought that they did something with this, but they didn't. They did not. So they're trying to be Disney Channel, Marvel type thing, but it's horrible acting, fake CGI, cheap animations, just keep it simple. We had to wait for 4 extra hours to see the feeds come back because they were busy filming this on some CBS slot that isn't filming anymore because no one is filming any scripted shows now. So I like the competition itself, but you could have made it in the backyard in a much more simple way. You don't have to be extra with the Netherverse, Nether scary. Just keep it simple, keep it nice.
Yeah, someone mentioned it should have been closer to Halloween, and I kind of agree. Because
yeah, save it for Halloween,
like the DR with the lightning in the background, that was kind of cool, but it's just it's August.
I appreciate the effort, but do better next time,
Yeah, it just was hard to follow, to be honest. They do this a lot. They spend a lot of time on comps in the episode, and I just gloss over. I lose focus. I'm just I don't care. I already know who won, which again, it's because we watch the live feeds. I understand people just watch the show, but it just was, it took up most of the episode.
I do like the competition though. Even though it's super cheesy, I did like the nature of the competition in that it's a mix of both physical and mental, where they need to figure out clues and run towards the spot first. So that I did like. But as you were saying, it takes too much time, and I think they're trying to fill up that Sunday slot time though, so you know.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So Jared, like as we said, came in second, went to the Nether region. We saw him pop up on the screen. I think he said something like he didn't sleep, or I don't know what's going on back there, but he comes back. Am I missing anything? He comes back, and whatever Nether Gorgon, whatever it's called, said he wants more soul. So Jared basically has to nominate someone else to go next, and that person gets to miss the nominations and therefore can't be nominated by Hisam. So of course, Reilly, who took Jared off the block last week, goes up to him and basically was like, "You have to pick me. You have to pick me. I have to be safe. Hisam's coming after me." It puts Jared in a tough spot because Hisam is secretly also, he's working with that side of the house. So he ends up picking Jag, which confuses Jag as well. And he's like, "Well, I guess I'm going." But I will say it was funny during nominations. I was kind of laughing when Jag's on the screen in the background while Hysen's doing
Yeah.
nominations. The whole thing is just silly. It's so silly. I don't know.
Yeah, like I do appreciate how they're like leaning into their theme though. Like it's fun, but like there's a line, you know, you want to be like good medium. You don't want to go like too much on one end and
Yeah.
you know.
My brother always like gets very close to that line. Probably
Yeah.
crosses it more than not, but I kind of just embrace the fact that this show is cheesy. Like I even tweeted about just this is why I don't tell my friends what Big Brother is because of this episode. Because I'm like, how do you explain this to people?
Yeah, like imagine you're like, you know, this is the strategy show, like people game like micro strategy, all this stuff, and they like tune in, like, oh, that sounds cool, and they watch like this episode. Like
Mhm.
they're like, are you pranking me or is this a joke?
What did you think about Jared and picking Jag? Suri, he obviously talked to his mom, and she was like, maybe pick Felicia, and he ended up going
Yeah.
with Jag. What did you think about that move?
I do think it was a good move to pick someone on his side. Like I understand why he can't pick those people that like Hisam listed because he can just explain that being that Hisam told me these names. If I don't pick those names, then he could potentially nominate me if I save them. So that part makes sense. I would, however, have approached the situation more so like using that save as an olive branch towards someone on that side you aren't as close, maybe like an America who you
Mhm.
aren't that close to, or like someone that could be more appreciative. Like Jag wanted you to save Reilly, so saving Jag doesn't really do much with that connection because it's more so like, wait, why are you saving me and not her? You could have just saved someone who would have, you know, taken that as an olive branch or could have reciprocated in the future. But I do appreciate that move.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but like he couldn't pick Reilly, he couldn't pick Matt, he couldn't pick Cameron.
Yeah.
And you have Jag, America, he couldn't pick Corey. I feel like just because the heist
Yeah.
of it. And then
Yeah.
like Blue would have made sense because him and Blue have been getting close, and I think people know that. So I don't know. Like it's not the worst pick, Jag.
Yeah. Yeah. It was fine.
Yeah. Obviously over the weekend the veto happened. I will say feeds were down a lot during the week, and on the weekend they were basically completely down Saturday and some of Sunday. So we are just kind of
Yeah.
picking up the pieces of what happened. But
Yeah.
the veto did take place. Who played in the veto, Sin?
Yeah, so we know that Hisam obviously played in the veto because he's the HOH, and his two nominees, so Reilly and Cameron, also played. And then they got to pick three other players as usual, and America got picked, Matt got picked, and Blue got picked. So it's essentially a 1v5 scenario where it's Hisam from the professors versus literally five people from the Family Style Alliance in that competition. And funnily enough, even though it's a 1v5 of Hisam versus them, Hisam ends up winning the competition, which is winning too much too early, which could be very bad for his game moving forward because you don't want to be winning so much when you don't need to win. Although I would say my big issue is not with him winning this veto because, like, in a scenario where you have a clear target in mind and you want to get them out, I understand you wanting to keep your nominations the same as HOH. I more so have a problem with him wanting to win this HOH to begin with, especially considering the final six of that competition was his entire alliance and Corey. So like you may as well throw it at that point and not win and have someone else in your alliance get blown on their hands.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Jared. Like I said, I don't think he needed to win, but Hisam, he probably didn't need to, just in terms of Hisam's gonna have a target regardless. You know, he's a big personality, he's always working out, like, you know, he rubs a couple people the wrong way. So like I think he was never gonna be someone who can, you know, fade into the background, but winning 3 out of 4 comps, you know, not always the best because it just makes that target a little bigger. But um I also was kind of, you know, I again, I've seen these conversations over the weekend, so we're probably missing some pieces, but Hisam did have conversations with people like Matt and Jag, like, what would you do if you won the veto? And Jag wasn't picked, but they were like, oh, like, I'd like to save Reilly. And he's like, would you? Like, so I don't know. I feel like a lot of those people should have thrown the veto, but again, we won't know until we see it, what happened.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the state of the house in terms of HOH and veto. But I do want to get into like the biggest headlines of the week. I'll touch on it briefly because I'd like to move on from it. Luke is no longer in the game. He decided to say the N-word in casual conversation, which is concerning, obviously. And CBS, people were calling on CBS to take action. This happened sort of overnight. And I would say by early morning, kind of West Coast time, the decision was made to evict, or I guess expel him from the house. So he's no longer there. Kirsten's there. Kirsten's not there either. So we have how many house guests left? 15. And
Yes.
the memory wall is finally there. So I guess that's a plus. But good riddance to Luke. He's gone. He didn't really affect the game anyway. So what did you think about the decision? I feel like they made it promptly compared to last
Yeah.
season, a couple
Yeah.
before.
I just want to say, like, for people who aren't like familiar with the live feeds and they're like tuning in, this sort of stuff unfortunately happens a lot on the feeds, especially with like worse casts. Like, it's not the first time someone has said this, like that sort of thing on the feeds. However, it is good that CBS is finally like taking action and setting a precedent about like you're not allowed to say this stuff, end of story, otherwise you're gonna get expelled. Because you need to make an example out of it, otherwise we're just going to have people keeping on repeating the same cycle, which is horrible. So that's a good thing
Right.
that
I
they did.
agree. I also think it's important for them to take action, even whether it's in casual conversation or it's with malice, because this is not okay. And if you have to hold people accountable, otherwise they think it is okay. And clearly he did because it's part of his vocabulary. So
Yeah.
glad that's done. I'm sad that Kirsten, that, you know, the eviction still happened. It is what it is. I guess they have the whole season planned out. I don't know. It's a long season.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
could have canceled it, but
I will say, I was so disappointed that Kirsten went home. Because like when the whole entire Luke thing happened, I was like, you know, at least we can get like something good happening with Kirsten, you know, staying in the game and potentially having the ability to like last longer. Because even though she wasn't the best at the game, you know, she was a fun personality to have around the house on the feeds. She provided to the gameplay. So losing her like week 1 was, you know, sad.
she was my winner pick, so I'm officially out of
You
my
need to
draft.
do your job next season, Sharon.
I know, I know. Okay, let's talk about the votes. So, like we said, Hisam, you know, nominated Reilly and Cameron. He won the POV. The nominations are gonna stay the same,
Yeah.
I would say, right? So, in terms of the votes, it's very up in the air. And right now, it's very clear that Reilly is leaving. Now it's Sunday night. We have 4 days until the eviction, and there's a couple people in there, Suri, one of them, who would prefer Cameron to leave. So, Sin, how do you see right now the votes
Okay.
playing out?
So right now it's leaning towards Reilly going home, and the main people who want to keep Reilly in the game are her like very close allies. So that Jag, Blue, and Matt, those core three. Then she can pick up a few votes between like America and Corey. But the real swing in this scenario is Jared and Suri. The thing is, Suri wants Cameron gone. However, if she wants Cameron gone, she has to vote with the other side of the house. And that's the problem because Suri is very wanting to keep herself under the radar. So if she wants to vote with the other side, she wants it to be a situation where nobody knows she was the vote that flipped. And the problem with that is Suri went to Reilly and was like, you know what, I want to keep you in the game. But the thing is, if I want to keep you, I want it to be hush hush. I don't want people to know that I flipped the vote. The problem is then Reilly went around the house telling people like, oh, I have Suri and I have Felicia locked in. which she does not. So that went back around the house, and people were like, oh, wait, Suri's voting with them. I thought she was with us. And that got back to Suri, which made her not want to go on the move because it wasn't worth exposing her entire game to save Reilly over Cameron, even though Reilly is the more close to her in the game. So
Yeah, she course corrected there, which again, Suri is a master like at social games. So she got herself in a little bit of trouble, maybe said too much to Reilly, but immediately was like, okay, yep, gotta cut the cord there.
yeah.
However, I will say, just even now as we're podcasting, there's conversations going about between Suri and other people about still possibly getting rid of Cameron. So while we say, the votes are to evict Reilly right now, it could change by Thursday.
Yeah. And I actually do see that there's a potential for the vote to flip. However, I think for Suri's game, the best move for her is if she wants to proceed down the path of evicting Cameron, she can't just flip the vote, like have a vote split. Like it's very important for her game to convince her alliance to vote Cameron out because it exposes her position too much by number one, turning on people who trust her, and number two, showing the other side of the house how capable she is of flipping and how gamey she is, which is not the reputation that she wants to divulge with other people in the house. So
yeah, I think her main thing is she has to get Hisam on board because he's never gonna give the okay, or he'll be pissed, right? And maybe that doesn't matter because he can't play in the HOH next week, but just to keep the alliance strong enough to, together, I feel like she does have to get Hisam on board. So that's an uphill battle a little bit, but she has a couple days in Suri.
I think she can, like, if she can, she wants to evict Cameron, I think she can get it done. But the question is not whether she can, it's whether or not it's worth expending that much like social and strategic capital to get Cameron
in
out.
Week 2. We're talking about week 2
in 100-day season. So
yeah, it's tricky. I do want to talk a little bit about that side of the house, the 8, a family style, I guess we're calling it. They're crumbling, right? And a lot of it is their own doing, namely Cameron, who kind of outed the alliance. So what happened there? Let's break it down.
So what the show didn't show you was last week there was this sort of thing where Cameron was doing Cameron stuff. And what I mean by that was he was fighting. He was saying weird shit, but amongst that, he was just like going to the other side of the house and being like, hey, I'm in an alliance with these people, and essentially exposing the family style and the handful alliances to the other side of the house. Now, granted, the other side of the house did know of the existence of that alliance, but this is actually like a benefit in disguise for Jared and Sri's game, because what they did on the feeds, which wasn't shown on the show, or at least in this episode, was they managed to use Cameron as a scapegoat. Because the thing is, when Hisam won the HOH, he was like, I know you guys are in an alliance. So the first question was, wait, how did you guys know I was in an alliance when I didn't tell anyone? There must be a mole. But because Cameron just leaked everything to them, they just said, oh, Cameron told us, so that's how we know. So that just turned that whole side of the house against each other and managed to save Jared's position as the mole of the alliance by just blaming it on him rather than exposing himself.
Yeah, do you think that side of the house is pretty, I mean, obviously there's little factions, but do you think that side of the house, that 8 is pretty much done?
That the 8 is done, but I do see like a new group emerging out of that 8. Like I can see Jag, Blue, Matt, America as a core, and I can see like possibly someone like a Corey joining them. But I do think they need to win power to consolidate something that's going to like further them in the game. Like I can very easily see them winning HOH next week and just like using their week to target Hisam, which, I can very well see happening.
I'm really like enjoying the fact that yes, there's 2 sides of the house, but it's not necessarily malicious, and it's fun to watch, and there's connections between people, right? You have Jared and Blue, you have gosh, I'm trying to think of the other people that are like cross, obviously Reilly and Suri, which won't matter after this.
There's like America and Nicole have like sort of something like a relationship happening.
Speaking of America, I think we don't see much of her. Well, shout out to Bowie, who we never see, but America, we're not seeing that much. And I worry because I said she was in a good spot last week. I worry that she's not making enough connections. Like she has a couple solid like Mimi, but I don't know. I feel like she's not branching out enough. And
Yeah.
that's where I think she can become an easy pawn or easy vote, you know? I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm worried about
I
her.
think she needs to, number one, make her side feel like she's on their side, because like even people in their alliance, like in her alliance, like aren't very fully trusting her because they don't know where her head's at. And I think even like she's trying to like not put all of her eggs in one basket. Like she's the type of person who's just going to go with the majority for the time being, if that benefits her game. And I think that can get you in a ton of trouble. Now I see her possibly doing better in the game if that bigger Professor Alliance starts to like have fractures. I can see her like squeaking in and like managing connections with like family style and like also with the professor's side of the house. And that way she can sort of skate by. But I don't see her getting targeted like soon. I do
Mhm.
think she has to work on her position though.
Yeah, I mean, even Sari, I don't think she's spoken much to her. Where I don't know, it just would be in her best interest to like branch out a little bit more. We haven't mentioned Corey. Corey is, I feel like every time he makes a little progress with Hisam, he goes behind and he's like, "Ugh, that guy," or like Hisam does the same thing. And I just feel like they're never going to be on the same page, but they're kind of, sort of, I guess, working together and, for now. But yeah, what do you think about Corey and just how he's playing right now? And he's very pro Sari, even to Jared, which I think is a good thing because he doesn't know Jared is Sari's mom. And he's very much like, oh yeah, Sari is, but besides you, my number one. I mean, he could be making this up, but I do think he really, for now, wants to keep Sari around. And it's just hilarious watching him have conversations with Jared explaining who Sari is. It's so fun.
Yeah. So I think Corey's position is like slowly improving because number one, Hisam, who was his enemy last week, is HOH and wasn't targeting him. So that's a good thing. That at least like shows he's done enough work to not be number one target on Hisam's list. So that's good. And also him not being in immediate danger has helped him like sort of connect with people more on a personal level and has made people like lay off of him of like, oh, he's sneaky, oh, he's like this smart gamer kid who's going to beat us. Like no, like they get to connect with him more on a personal level because he's not like trying to fight for his life in the game, which has improved his position. So I think like, he's doing good, and I can see him like he's like a sleeper pick. He's like one of those players who get targeted early on, but then after they lay off of him and he's no longer in that immediate like early week danger, he can make it to the end game.
Yeah. And I mean, if these conversations that literally are happening now about, or even today about, Hisam, I don't know, we might need to, like, between Izzy, Sari, and Jared, I mean, Corey might be someone that they can pick up if they have to eventually cut ties with Hisam. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
And
do. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so the one thing I want to mention with Corey is that, okay, comparing Corey and Izzy are both players in the house who are well versed in their knowledge about Sri. I think Izzy is implicitly just like loyal to Sri, but I think Corey like is working with Sri now because it benefits his game. But once it gets to a point where she is not the benefit, she will. Corey is willing to betray Sri, but I don't think Izzy is willing to do the same thing.
Yes.
So down the road, I think Sri might need to like not be too trusting of Corey, even though right now he's willing to work with her. I think there has to be a point in the game where she takes the shot at him before he can, get her first.
I agree. I think though she's very lucky because she has her son in there who talks to Corey pretty often. So if something, if he starts planning something, I feel like she'll get a heads up about it. So I do, since you brought her up, let's talk about Izzy. We didn't see like
Yes.
that much of her in this episode, obviously because she's not HOH and all that, but damn, did I miss her on feeds, on Saturday. She's just chaos and I just love it. I'm sorry, I just love it. What do you think about her? What's going on with Izzy?
Okay, so the thing with Izzy is in a very interesting spot because she has this information, but like she isn't very reliable. And why I say when I say this, I mean like Suri, like had this been a normal season and had there not been the whole twist with Suri and Jared, it's very likely that Suri would have just like dumped Izzy as an ally because like there's no worth in keeping her, even though she likes you, but like she's too messy. But because of this, Suri has to be loyal back to her, because if Izzy feels a certain type of way, she can very easily just like blow up Jared and Suri's entire game. However, Izzy is such a hard ally to manage because she requires a ton of energy just to like
She's high
talk with
maintenance.
her. She's a high maintenance ally. They're like allies who you can just like tell them one thing and then you're good for a week. Izzy, you need to constantly be
Check in.
checking in, making sure she's good, making sure she's not panicked, making sure like everything is good. But she also is loyal to Suri, and I don't think she's gonna betray her anytime soon. And she's providing good feeds content, even though she can be messy at times.
Yes, I think she's a good ally for Suri for now. Suri is getting a little, I don't want to say annoyed. What's the right word? She's like, this is a lot. Like she has to put out a lot of fires with her. She said, she would have aligned with her naturally anyway, but she didn't realize how high maintenance, I guess, of an ally she is. And it's fun. It's still fun to watch. I like to watch Suri navigate that. That's fun to me. There was another thing. Who mentioned the traders? That was Izzy, right?
Yes. Okay, so Suri was having like a conversation with people in the backyard. Like Cameron was there and Izzy was there, and they were talking about like different shows, like the challenge and stuff. Then Cameron started to like describe the show traitors. And obviously, like Izzy knows that Suri was on the show and that she won the show. But like Izzy was very, very like excited to like be like, oh yeah, that's the name of the show. Like I know the show, I watched the show before, and Suri was on the show. Like Suri admitted to being on the show, but like having just like the name of the show like circulate around the house and spread that Suri was on it made Suri very like worried about Cameron, which is one of the reasons why she was like looking to sort of get rid of him, because like essentially Cameron was talking about how his mom was a big fan of the traitors, but he didn't watch the show, and he sort of recognized Suri from that show. And even though I don't think Cameron knows she won the show,
Yeah, I
like,
don't think he knows.
I don't think he has any idea. But like Suri doesn't know that. So Suri's like, wait, he knows I was on the show. He probably knows I won the show and I need to get rid of him now. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I worry about with Izzy. You're dropping stuff like that is unnecessary, and it's only a matter of time of 100 days that something else comes out. But
yeah,
I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what happens. She just has some funny moments. Like she yelled at Red for sitting on Hisam's bed, and that was a whole thing. Like, what do you mean I can't sit on his bed? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I live for it. I think it's fun, especially like, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of people in that house. It's hard to keep track of every single relationship and alliance. And sometimes I just want fun feeds. That's it.
yeah,
So,
that's all we can ask for. Fun feed.
that's all we can ask for. And you know what, Sin? I think that leads us. We need to talk about Felicia. We haven't talked about her yet. What is the update with Felicia?
Is it Felicia time? Wait 1 second. Let me get my.
Yes, it is Felicia time. Oh, he's changing his background to Felicia. Okay.
Felicia. Okay.
Oh my God, it's a great photo.
We are starting a weekly segment where we talk all things Felicia, because Felicia is amazing. If you missed it last week, we were describing how Felicia was like navigating her microphone situation. So she was having an issue where she kept on like dropping her microphones in the toilet, then subsequently in the pool. And now between last podcast and this podcast, she like managed to murder a few more microphones. So rest in peace. However, she has some new, things going on. One of the major things being Big Brother production is not providing her with the food she requires, because like they don't have basic shit in the house for Felicia to cook.
I'm on Team Felicia with this.
I'm
You don't
always
have garlic powder. You don't have,
I am
seasonings.
always on Team Felicia, always and forever. So like, yes, Big Brother, you need to like get her stuff, because like if Felicia isn't happy, I'm not going to be happy, and if I'm not going to be happy, no one is going to be happy. So Felicia, you need to get your food, because like you need your garlic powder and your butter. No fake butter. She doesn't want fake butter. She wants all the real butter, all the good butter, all of
No
the
margarine.
no, whatever that is. Yes, amazing. Please,
Yeah.
production. Yes.
I have to mention, this is silly, but
Yes.
Cameron also seems to think that Felicia is related to Denzel Washington. So that's another thing. Do you know who that is, Sin?
No.
Okay. Well, moving on, because that's a crime that you don't know who he is. One of the best actors to ever live. But anyway, so yes, that is the Felicia update. I guess there's not much more. She did some good acting tonight in the episode, I thought.
Yeah, I do say like for the game wise, people would think that oh Felicia is just going to follow Suri around and like do whatever she wants, but I don't think that's the case because like while Suri was like pushing Cameron to go home, I feel like Felicia wants Reilly gone. Like Felicia isn't budging as much with Suri wanting Cameron gone, and she's talked to Hisam about like how she's just going to evict Reilly because that's what he wants, even though Suri's like been pushing for Cameron to go home more so. So I do think she isn't just a Suri minion, which it may be easy to classify that, oh yeah, those are the two older in the house. They're just like
Mhm.
one of Suri's, minions. But like, I think, she's game savvy, we saw her in the episode, like she initially like managed to clock the handful alliance. Like I think
Yeah.
she's good, like she's strategically very well. And she's a very good sword. Like no one's gonna target her. No one wants to target Felicia. She's in for the end game, like for sure.
I mean, I think even Suri said like Miss Felicia is gonna do what she wants. Like she's not totally controllable, right? She's gonna
Yeah.
make up her own mind. I think Suri can have some sway, but she's a person all her own, and I love it.
Yeah. The biggest danger to Felicia is the CBS bill after she gets off the show because she's gonna have to reimburse CBS for all the microphones that she has damaged.
Yes,
So
justice for Shima, can we just say?
always,
He did
always,
one, through one microphone in the hot tub.
like one Felicia is like 1,000 Shimas at this point, but the damage they've done to microphones. But okay, so I have a question, Sharon. Do
Yes.
like waterproof microphones exist? Like, of course they exist, yes.
Well, I don't,
No-
they must exist, but generally when I've seen these shows is
Yeah.
that if you're in like the water, like the challenge or below deck, I'm just thinking of shows with water, you
Hmm.
wear a necklace around you that has like a mic, but I don't think you wear the mic pack. I could be wrong, but I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Whatever that is, like, shouldn't CBS like be like considering like investing in that? Because like, you don't wanna like by the end of the season, like they're gonna be out of microphones. They're not gonna have any show anymore because Fish is gonna break them all. So like just preemptively, like we were talking about like how CBS needs to be more accommodative to people in the house, accommodate Felicia's needs, what Felicia wants, and what she wants are waterproof microphones. So please provide her with that along with her list of seasoning which she requires. Thank you.
yes.
Yes.
Well, speaking of accommodating, I did want to talk about a few things that are just on social media that people are talking about. One of which is completely fair is that, it doesn't seem to us watching that production is doing enough to accommodate Matt. It's difficult to watch because, he struggles and, it's early in the game. There's a lot of people talking and he has to just kind of constantly, pivot his head and see what people are saying. He didn't even know the name of his alliance because there's just so many people in it and he missed the name of it. And it's hard to watch, especially so when Jared popped up on the screen when he was in the Nether region, Matt, you could see, was struggling to understand if, Jared's voice was muffled and there wasn't any, text on the screen. So we could barely make out what Jared was saying. So I can't imagine what Matt is going through. And I've seen some things that production is going above, well, is making accommodations when they're explaining rules and stuff. I don't know. I feel like they could be doing better. Like, how do you not have like someone on staff, like hire a deaf person to like consult on the show and help? Because if a live competition comes up, you have to explain the rules and everything. I just want to make sure that he's understanding everything, and I don't know if they're doing enough. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think like an important thing like to consider is not only like ticking a box and like, oh, this is the first deaf person to be on the show. Like, fine, that's amazing, but like you're just ticking a box and that's it. No, you need to like
Yeah.
if you want to have diversity on the show, you need to be able to like accommodate for whatever comes with that diversity, whether you're casting more old people or casting a deaf person on the show. Like it's not enough to just be like, oh, we have them and now they're there. No, you need to do the extra effort and actually like help them be on an equal playing field with
Right.
everyone.
I just actually thought, like, for example, putting the bidet in for like the Muslim house guests, like that is a small accommodation. Okay, that makes sense. And then they
Yeah.
just kept it because everyone should have a bidet. But anyway, this is something very simple. There's a deaf contestant. Make sure he can hear or understand what's going on. And it's just like common sense to me.
Just have like one of those. I know they said that he has those like a monitor or something in the DR that like has
Mm-hmm.
text for him. But like let's say there's a live HOH competition where Julie Chen is like saying those like quiz questions
Exactly.
and it's like, oh, you have to hit the buzzer first. Like obviously he's going to be at a disadvantage, so
Yeah, it just sucks. Do better. Another thing I do want to mention is Kirsten has yet to do exit press. I don't know if she's going to do it. What I'm hearing is sources are telling me that it is up to her whether she wants to even do it. And so we might not see an exit interview from her this week. I hope we do. I hope, I assumed on Friday when they canceled is because they didn't want to bombard her with Luke questions because Luke, we just found out Luke was gone. And of course that was going to be a question for an exit press, but I'm sure they were like, we don't want to bombard this woman with like all questions about Luke. So that made sense to me. But I really do hope that she decides to do it because I have questions for her and I would like to hear from her.
yeah, I think she deserves the chance to at least have the full,
Yeah.
like press experience, to get to talk about her game and such.
Yes, I will follow up with CBS about that. I hope that happens. So stay tuned for that. In terms of an 18th house guest, sorry guys, we kind of knew that was not going to happen. It just didn't make sense, right? Like they weren't going to put someone in sequester for 3 weeks or whatever, however long it was, and then just drop them. And it just didn't make sense. I don't know where that rumor came from, but I guess because there were more beds or whatever. But we could put that to rest. I do not think anybody else is coming into the house.
Yeah, like I was initially thinking like potentially, a challenge person, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So
Yeah, I guess with all these multiverses, like that was
yeah,
a good
consideration. Yeah,
line of thought, but
it
yeah, doesn't look like it's happening.
doesn't seem so.
Well, as we wrap up here, I think we talked through the votes. Like we said, it looks like Reilly's going home for now. It's very fluid. It totally can change by Thursday, especially if Suri, sways Hisam and gets her alliance on board. But that's currently what it's looking like. But Sin, I want to know, who do you think is in the best and worst spot right now?
Okay, so where things look right now, like Suri is like running the game. And I don't say that like, oh, because she's Suri. No, I think she actually has connections with like most people in the house, whether they're on her side or outside of her side. I think she has good bonds with people. And I don't think people are like threatened by her. Even Corey, who knows her entire legacy,
It's
isn't
wild.
yeah, it's like, oh, I know I want to work with her still. Like eventually, yes, she's gonna want to target her at some point, I'm assuming. But right now it seems that she's doing well. And I think like her initial decision to want to, like have a split vote, then pin the vote on someone and be doing, I think that was while
Too cute.
it was like a fun move. I would have loved to see it, and I would love
Yeah.
to see her navigate that move. I think it's doing too much too early and putting her position at risk when she's already in a good spot. So I think it's sort of good that she backed off of that move. I
Yeah.
do think, however, if she wants to proceed with the path of getting Cameron out, the best approach would be to convince her side to get rid of Cameron over Reilly and not go in an underhand way and like backstab most of the people on her side, because that will just make her a big threat when it's no need to
Right.
do.
So you're saying Suri is probably in the best spot right now?
I think she's in the best spot. I think she's one of the more proactive game players. I think that I mentioned her before, but Nicole is also in a good spot. I don't think she's as proactive strategically, but I do think there is potential there. Like I think she's building bonds with people on her side and people outside, like someone like in America, they're like connecting. So I think there is going to be a point where she becomes like a key player in the game. So I like them too. I think someone like a Corey could like if he slowly improves his position moving forward, I think he's going to be one of those players that just is good with both sides and manages to make it to the end game because of that. So
Mm.
those people, I think they're doing a good job.
I feel like Bowie, because we haven't seen her. That has to be good if you're not being seen and people don't talk about you.
Yeah, the thing with Bowie is very social and many people like her. But the thing with Bowie is I don't know how invested she is in playing the game. Yes, she's there, but I don't know like when is she going to have that clear instinct when it comes to like is she going to be able to target who she needs to target and get rid of who she needs to get rid of?
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
that's what I'm worried about.
I just mean getting far. I feel like she can get far
Yeah,
just by basically.
longevity. She's good, and obviously I forgot to mention the queen herself, Miss Felicia, is like not only is she going to make the end game, but I do think she has a chance to win the game. Like she's not one of those people who just like coast to the end and just like are either like getting 0 votes in the final or like are just there. I think she's actually like willing to play the game and willing to make moves. And I just hope, like people see her for more than just like the older person in the house, and she actually like gets the chance to like prove herself in a game fashion, and people like see her game and not just the person that she is.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I would say obviously the people that are in the worst spot are obviously Reilly and Cameron right now. I think Hisam, you know, his
Yeah.
his winner equity is going down. I think Jared's fine, but he's having to show his cards a little bit. And I think because he has his mom, he'll be fine. But I think she's still in a better spot. But yeah. And I did want to just mention, I forgot to mention this, not that it matters because I'm sure people are thrilled, but CBS was trying to push a showman segment on us tonight. And can we just leave this in the past? Like, they didn't show Blue and Jared, who have been very flirty, but they did show Matt and Reilly. Reilly's going home. I don't know why we needed this segment. I didn't get it. Any thoughts about that?
I think they love their, like young couple. Okay, CBS loves, like even when they had this special on like I don't know 3 weeks ago, they had this whole segment like, oh, these Big Brother couples are together. Then like Julie Chen's in love with mentioning that Big Brother has more couples than The Bachelor. Like, who cares? But like CBS, I think showmances are very good for the show's marketability, and they're like even like
Yes.
when Tangela still existed, rest in peace. Like people love Tangela, people love Rachel. Like these romances, like especially they're more geared towards like the casual audience who just like watches this show on like 3 days a week and has no idea what else is going on. They're very easy to like market the show based on. So I think that's why they're pushing. So Riley, yes, she's playing messy, and yes, she's done a lot, and yes, she's probably going home. But I will say I really appreciated on the episode when she like went up to Jared and she was like begging for her life to stay. And like that's something you don't see in any player. So like Riley wants to play the game, and that I can appreciate. Like, yes, she's
Yeah.
messy. Like the way she was begging for Jared, like, please save me. I saved you last week. And she was like in tears, like that just shows how much she wants to be in the house. And that's something where like if you want to be in the house and you want to play the game, then like that's someone who like I want to do well and I want to succeed over other people who just like are willing to give up or willing to be more like passive when it comes to the same situation.
Yeah, I think I would be fine. I'd be happy to have Reilly stay in the house over Cameron. I just, I
And yeah, Cameron can go like, please, like, what? Okay, why is this even a debate? Like for the audience, like, why do we want Riley to go home over Cameron when Cameron is like weird and like has been doing weird stuff and like is just like not even like he was a nominee potential on the episode and he was barely in the episode. Like, no one cares about Cameron. Can you just like get rid of Cameron instead?
okay. Just to be clear, I don't know Cameron personally, so I'm
We do
not going
not
to comment
know
on.
Cameron. No.
Okay,
On the show so far, he hasn't been the most fun person, and even on the feeds, he hasn't been the most fun. So
yeah.
just keep Riley in the game, and it isn't that hard. Get rid of Cameron, please. CBS, like while you're getting the groceries for Felicia, just like sneak in like a save immunity for her, like from the Nether. You just save her, get rid of like Cameron. It's fine. He can go.
The
Like
the good
you
part is,
yes.
regardless, this week the fatherly whatever that Cameron is exhibiting towards Reilly, he thinks he's her dad, will be ended because
I
one of
didn't know there was another parent-sibling duo in the house, Sharon.
yeah, that's the big twist, I guess.
But, yeah.
Okay, well, I feel like we covered a lot. Thank you for joining me, Sin. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. I will be back on Wednesday with another winner. This week I will have Xavier Prather, the winner of season 23, joining me. So if you have questions for him, tweet me at Sharon Tharp on Twitter, and you can follow at Exclusively Pod on all platforms, YouTube, everything. And please like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review if you liked the podcast.